March 2016. An American astronaut comes home from space and his identical twin brother no longer recognizes parts of his DNA. Same parents, same age, same genes, but after 340 days off the surface of this planet, Scott Kelly came back as a measurably different person than the brother he left behind. And what NASA found in those blood samples is the reason we are not going to Mars. Before we get to what the planet did to his genes, do this with me. Take a breath. Hold it. Press your palm flat against your chest. What's pushing back isn't just you. It's 14.7 pounds per square inch of atmosphere. An ocean of air, miles deep, holding every liquid in your body together, every second of your life. Without you noticing, you are not crazy for feeling something is off about the Mars pitch. You are noticing real physics. Now imagine moving a body calibrated to that ocean, your body, a 4-billion-year-old chemical machine tuned to 5 simultaneous Earth constants to a planet that fails all 5 at once. Pressure, gone. Magnetic shield, gone. Clean soil, gone. Safe sky, gone. Gravity, a third. 5 invisible fortresses holding you together right now. Mars has none of them. And that's before the secret NASA's twin study found hiding in Scott Kelly's telomeres. In 1986, dying of 2 cancers, Richard Feynman went on live television, dropped a rubber O-ring into a cup of ice water, and showed America that $2 of physics beats $2 billion of marketing every time. His last written words, "Nature cannot be fooled." Tonight we walk through the 5 ways Mars takes a human body apart, each one paired with named receipts. Armstrong, 1,947. Van Allen, 1,958. Phoenix Lander, 2008. Curiosity Rover, 2013. The Kelly brothers, 2015. Name people, name missions, name numbers. No AI slop, just physics. Last episode, you are physics dreams as thermodynamic exhaust, forgetting as a tax on any finite brain. Tonight, we look up from inside the engine and see the hardware it runs on. And that hardware only exists here, on this rock, under this sky, for a little while longer. Before I show you what changed Scott Kelly's DNA and why Feynman would have called Mars a category error, subscribe. By minute 35, you'll never look at a Mars render the same way again, and you'll never look at a sunrise the same way either. Last time, we sat in a strange place together. We said the thing almost nobody says out loud. Consciousness is a cooling engine. Dreams are thermodynamic exhaust. Forgetting isn't a failure of memory, it's a tax. The universe charges any finite brain that wants to keep running. You are physics, not metaphorically. Actually, tonight we climb one layer up, because if you are an instance of the second law, a specific arrangement of atoms dumping heat in a very specific way, then the next question is uncomfortable to ask out loud. What is that instance running on? The answer is going to bother you at first, then set you free. Your physics is tuned to pressure, tuned to magnetism, tuned to gravity. The engine runs on Earth hardware. Move it to Mars, and the engine doesn't just malfunction, it stops being the same engine. The 11th of February, 1986, Washington, D.C., a hearing room in the old executive office building. The Rogers Commission, the panel investigating what had just happened to the Space Shuttle Challenger 73 seconds after it left the pad. In front of that panel sits Richard Feynman, 67 years old, thin, dying of 2 cancers he hasn't told most of the commission about. A Nobel laureate, a man who 30 years earlier had watched the first atomic bomb go off from 6 miles away and called it, quote, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. On this February morning, in a room full of generals, NASA administrators, and television cameras, he asks for one thing, a glass of ice water. Somebody brings it. Feynman holds up a small rubber gasket, an O-ring, the kind NASA used to seal the joints of the solid rocket booster. He drops it into the water, lets it sit 2 minutes, pulls it out, squeezes it with a clamp, and on live television in front of the entire American press corps, he shows the country a single ugly fact. The rubber doesn't spring back. At 32 degrees Fahrenheit, that gasket has lost its elasticity. It no longer seals. It cannot hold pressure. The morning Challenger launched Cape Canaveral, Florida. The launch pad was 28 degrees Fahrenheit, $2 of physics, $400 million of engineering defense, gone. Later dying, writing his minority appendix to the final Rogers report, Feynman closed with the sentence that became physics canon. For a successful technology, reality must take precedence over public relations, because nature cannot be fooled. Tonight we apply Feynman's ice water to a Mars colony render. Kindly, carefully, without cruelty, but without flinching either. To understand why Mars disassembles a human body, we first have to look at what keeps yours from disassembling right now. And that story doesn't start in 2024 on a launch pad in Boca Chica. It starts 400 years ago, with a man rolling brass balls down a wooden ramp. Galileo, 1590. A 32-year-old math teacher in Pisa, rolling brass balls down polished wooden ramps, writing down exactly how fast they fall. Newton, 1687. Watching an apple drop in his mother's garden, and wondering whether the same invisible string pulling the fruit down is also holding the moon up there. Faraday, 1831. A self-taught bookbinder's apprentice, playing with a copper wire and a magnet, discovering that empty space is filled with lines of force you cannot see. 3 men, 3 tools, 1 planet, decoded quietly, century by century. Because of those 3 men and everyone who came after, most of us walk around carrying a cartoon of how space works. Space is empty. Planets are rocks. The sun is a warm lamp in the sky. All 3 are wrong. The space between the sun and your face right now is not empty. It is humming with particles moving at millions of miles an hour. And the sun is not a lamp. It is a raging, continuous nuclear inferno spitting atoms at you every second you are alive. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes. I am going to show you why physics does not care about beautiful PowerPoint slides, why your body is a 4-billion-year-old love letter to this specific planet, and why the only honest Mars colony looks less like a shiny glass dome under a pink sky and a lot more like a grave with a life support system bolted to the wall. Let's start with a glass of water, because what happens to the water on Mars is exactly what happens to the blood inside your veins. Pick up a glass of water, the one next to you right now. Look at the surface, perfectly still, not boiling, not freezing, just sitting there. The reason it is sitting there and not bubbling into steam across your desk is not temperature. The water is not cold enough to stay liquid. It is pressed enough to stay liquid. And the thing pressing on it is the same thing pressing on you. 14.7 pounds per square inch. Every square inch of your skin. Right now, that is the weight of a bowling ball sitting on a postage stamp. There is one of those postage stamps on your forehead, one on the back of your hand, one on every eyelid, thousands of them, pressing down every second you have ever been alive. You don't feel it because the inside of your body's pressing back with exactly the same force. Blood, lungs, eyeballs, joint fluid, all calibrated to push outward against the invisible ocean with the same strength the ocean pushes in. You are a deep-sea creature. You just happen to live at the bottom. R-U-S. Air Force flight surgeon named Harry Armstrong, 48 years old, working out of Wright-Patterson in Ohio, asks the question nobody had answered. At what altitude does a pilot's blood boil? He runs the numbers. At sea level, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Climb a mountain, pressure drops, boiling point drops. On Everest, water boils at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep climbing. At 63,000 feet, about 11 miles straight up, atmospheric pressure collapses to 47 millimeters G. And 47 is exactly the vapor pressure of water at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Body temperature, meaning at 63,000 feet, the water inside a living human being, saliva, tears, the fluid on the surface of the lungs, the plasma in the blood starts to boil, not because anything heated up, because the lid came off. That altitude has a name, the Armstrong limit. Here is the part that should make you sit perfectly still. The entire surface of Mars is above the Armstrong limit. Not some of it, not the mountains, all of it. The lowest point on the entire planet, the floor of Hellas Basin, 7 kilometers deep, has an atmospheric pressure equivalent to 110,000 feet on Earth. almost double the Armstrong limit. You don't need a spaceship to die on Mars. You just need to take your helmet off, wear the helmet. Never take it off, ever. You're still not safe. Because the second killer doesn't care what you're wearing. Take a compass, put it on a table. The needle swings, wobbles, settles, always points the same direction, north. That needle is not pointing at a place. It is lining up with a field of force, huge, invisible, reaching from one end of this planet to the other, wrapping around us like the petals of a rose. Everyone has seen a compass work. Almost no one has sat with what it means. 2,000 miles beneath your feet right now, there is an ocean of liquid iron, nickel and iron, molten, white hot, roughly the size of the moon. And it is spinning. As it spins, it drags electric charge with it. Moving charge generates a magnetic field, a rule Faraday wrote down in 1831 and nobody has rewritten since. That spinning iron ocean is the reason the compass needle moves. It is also the reason you have a thyroid, the reason your DNA is not shredded every time you go outside on a sunny day, the reason Earth has an atmosphere at all. Instead of the sun having stripped it away one atom at a time 4 billion years ago, the field is called the magnetosphere. You cannot see it. It is saving your life right now. A physicist at the University of Iowa named James Van Allen convinces the Army to bolt a Geiger counter onto a tiny satellite called Explorer 1. They launch it. The Geiger counter starts clicking. Then it clicks so fast it stops clicking, saturated, overwhelmed, maxed out. What Van Allen figures out from those clicks is that Earth's magnetic field is not a thin umbrella. It is a set of enormous nested traps, donuts of energy, looping tens of thousands of miles into space, catching high-energy particles from the sun and from the deeper universe, and holding them there, away from us, like a goalkeeper who has been on duty for 4 billion years and has never blinked. We call them the Van Allen belts. Mars, 4 billion years ago, had a dynamo of its own. It had a magnetic field, oceans, rivers, maybe even weather. We can see the dry riverbeds from orbit. Then something happened. The planet is smaller, roughly half Earth's diameter, which means it cooled faster. Its iron heart congealed. The dynamo stopped spinning. The field died. In 2013, the Curiosity rover, carrying an instrument called the RAD, the Radiation Assessment Detector, measured exactly what no field costs a human body. A round trip to Mars, 0.66 sieverts. That's 66% of an astronaut's entire pause career, pause allowable dose, absorbed in one trip, just getting there and back, before you spend a single day on the surface. Feynman would have said this the way he said everything honest, plainly. The shield isn't there, the roof leaks. Nature, as he told the Rogers Commission, cannot be fooled into offering you radiation protection the planet itself does not possess. And once you are through the roof, you still have to stand on the floor. The floor is poison. You have seen this shot 1,000 times. A colonist in a white suit kneels in rust-red soil, pulls off a glove, pushes a finger into the dirt, drops a seed, smiles behind the visor. The music swells. Humanity has arrived. That shot is a lie, not a small lie, the kind of lie that kills a thyroid in 6 months, because the dirt on Mars is not dirt. It is an industrial oxidizer. May 25, 2008. A NASA spacecraft the size of a kitchen table, the Phoenix lander, touches down in the northern plains of Mars, a place called Vastitas Borealis, flat, cold, ancient. Phoenix has a robotic arm. It scrapes a trench, lifts a scoop, dumps it into a small onboard oven, heats it, measures the gases that boil off. The chemist running the wet chemistry lab, Samuel Kunaves at Tufts University, watches the readout and realizes the team has just found something that changes every Mars colonization PowerPoint ever made. The soil is loaded with perchlorate. Perchlorate is a salt, 1 chlorine atom bonded to 4 oxygen atoms. On Earth, we use it for exactly one thing at scale. We pack it into rocket motors and ammunition primers because it is an oxidizer so violent it will make almost anything burn. On Mars, it is sitting on the ground everywhere, between 0.5% and 1% of the soil by mass, across the whole planet. roughly 1,000 times the concentration you are legally allowed to have in American drinking water. Inside a human body, perchlorate does one specific thing. It blocks the thyroid from absorbing iodine. No iodine, no thyroid hormone, your metabolism unravels over weeks. Heart slows, brain slows, body temperature drops, you get cold, confused, and eventually you stop waking up. And that is from the dust, not from drinking it, from breathing the air inside the habitat after someone tracked in a boot print. Now reread the pitch. The pitch says, we will terraform, we will garden, we will grow potatoes in Martian greenhouses. Children will run barefoot through Martian valleys. The data says, the first human being to take their helmet off indoors after a Martian dust storm has tracked an industrial oxidizer into the living room. A substance we quarantine as a hazardous material on Earth is, on Mars, a layer of powder on every airlock, every suit, every tool, every square inch of the floor. You cannot vacuum a planet. That's what I meant when I said the floor is poison. I did not mean it poetically. The smartest counter-argument, fine, we'll wash the dust off, rinse the suits, filter the air. With what water? Every liter you use for cleaning is a liter you are not drinking, not growing food with, not splitting into oxygen. And every liter you use once, you have now contaminated with the same salt you were trying to wash away. Helmets on, doors sealed, inside the dome. You are still not safe. Humans are mammals. And mammals, when something is raining down on us, do exactly one thing. We run under a roof. Cave, tent, house, dome. It has worked for 200,000 years. On this planet, under this atmosphere, under this magnetic field, put something solid over your head. Problem solved. On Mars, that reflex will kill you faster than no roof at all. A cosmic ray is not a ray. That's a mistake we made in the 1910s and never corrected. A cosmic ray is a single atomic nucleus, usually hydrogen or iron, stripped of its electrons, accelerated somewhere far away in the galaxy to 99.99% of the speed of light, and fired at your face like a bullet the size of one atom. On Earth, the atmosphere eats it. 80 miles of air above your head, thick enough that the particle hits a nitrogen or oxygen atom long before it reaches ground level, shatters into smaller fragments. Those fragments shatter again and again until by the time anything reaches your body, it is about as dangerous as a warm afternoon. On Mars, the air is 100 times thinner. The particle arrives at the surface almost undiluted, still carrying almost all its original energy, still moving at almost the speed of light, and then it hits your roof. Here is the part nobody in the glossy renders wants to tell you. When a cosmic ray moving at 99.99% of C slams into a sheet of metal or concrete or regolith piled on a habitat, it does not stop. It shatters. One incoming particle becomes a shower of secondaries, neutrons, pions, muons. A spray of fragments spat out the other side of the material, each still carrying enough energy to rip through a human cell on the way down. Thin shield, your body takes the original bullet. Thick shield, your body takes a shotgun blast of the pieces. Between them, there is a cursed middle zone where the shield is just thick enough to turn every incoming particle into a larger biological dose on the other side than if you had no shield at all. Most proposed Mars domes, aluminum, a little regolith, a polymer liner, sit squarely inside that cursed zone. So what does a real physics-respecting Mars habitat actually look like? It is not a glass dome under a pink sky. It is a hole dug into the side of a lava tube or buried under at least 4 meters of loose Martian dirt, not piled casually, but packed dense enough to fully absorb a galactic cosmic ray and all its secondary children before they reach your skin. No windows, no skylights, no pink sunset seen through glass, a concrete crypt lit by LED strips with rovers driving the actual sunlight in through fiber optic cables because any direct line of sight to the sky is a direct line of sight to your chromosomes. Feynman had a phrase for this kind of problem. He called it fooling yourself. Then he said the line that got carved into physics forever: you are the easiest person to fool. Helmet on, buried under 4 meters of dirt, no sky, no garden, no stepping outside. You are still not safe because the planet itself is now pulling you apart from the inside. Two men, identical twins, same mother, same father, same birthday, the 21st of February, 1964. Same Navy pilot training, same NASA astronaut corps, same genes, copied letter for letter from the same single fertilized cell 50 years earlier. Their names are Scott and Mark Kelly. In March 2015, NASA does something no space agency has ever done. They send one brother up and keep the other one down. Scott Kelly boards a Soyuz in Kazakhstan and flies to the International Space Station. He stays there 340 consecutive days, almost a full year, floating 400 kilometers above the surface of this planet. Mark Kelly stays in Houston, eats normal food, sleeps in a normal bed, walks his dog, goes to the grocery store, ages on the ground, exactly the way humans have aged for 200,000 years. And every few weeks, for 340 days, NASA draws blood from both of them, scans both of them, sequences both of them. They have something almost no biology study in history has ever had, a genetically identical control group of one, living under full Earth physics, while the experimental subject lives under zero-G physics. When Scott comes home in March 2016, the data is shattering. He has lost bone, not a little, 1–2% of his skeletal density per month, the rate of advanced osteoporosis, except he was 46 and perfectly healthy when he left. Size have changed shape. The back of his eyeball has flattened a condition NASA now calls SANS, spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome, because without gravity pulling fluid down through the body, the fluid pools upward into the skull and slowly presses against the optic nerve from behind. His gut bacteria have reorganized. His immune system shows signs of dysregulation. And buried in the DNA, the telomeres, the protective caps at the end of each chromosome that normally shorten as you age, have done something nobody predicted. In space, they grew. Back on Earth, they collapsed. His own genes did not know how to be themselves anymore without the planet. This is the thing the Mars pitch does not want you to sit with. Gravity is not a floor you walk on. Gravity is information. Every cell in your body, every minute of your life is receiving a signal from the planet that says down is this way, build bone this way, pool blood this way, shape an eyeball this way, run a heart this way. Take that signal away, and the body does not float gracefully in peace. The body begins a slow motion disassembly, organ by organ, because the instructions it evolved to follow no longer have a source. You are not living in zero-G. Zero-G is unbuilding you. And here is the part that should make the colonization case collapse on the math alone. Mars gravity is 38% of Earth's. Not zero, but not enough. No human body has ever lived a full year at 0.38 G. We have no idea what comes back. We only know what does not. Let me hand you all five at once. Your blood boils without heat. Your DNA gets shredded by radiation the planet has no shield against. The dirt under your boot poisons your thyroid in 6 months. The roof you built to protect yourself turns the sky into a shotgun. And the planet itself, the gravity itself, is too weak to tell your bones they are still bones. 5 failures. At the same time, on the same body, forever. Nobody who sells you a Mars ticket walks you through all 5 on the same page. Because the moment you see them stacked, the pitch stops being a plan, it becomes a category error. The smartest defense of Mars goes, engineering solves problems. We pressurized submarines, we climbed Everest, we put men on the moon for 3 days, we will solve these 5. The quiet problem with that argument is arithmetic. On Earth, we solve one problem at a time. Pressure in a submarine, but the crew is still breathing sea-level air at the surface. Radiation in a reactor, but the technicians go home to an atmosphere that shields them. Gravity loss on the ISS, but astronauts rotate back to Earth every 6 months and heal. Mars asks you to solve pressure, radiation, soil toxicity, shielding, and gravity loss at the same time on the same body forever with no home to rotate back to. That is not an engineering problem. That is a physics problem, wearing an engineering costume. This is where Feynman's ice water demonstration stops being a story from 1986 and starts being a tool in your hand. Because what Feynman did on live television was not debunking one O-ring. He was making a much larger point. When reality and public relations disagree, reality does not negotiate. Reality does not take a meeting. Reality does not care how much money was raised in the last funding round, how inspiring the rendering looks, or how many people retweeted the video. Nature cannot be fooled. What we just walked through, pressure, radiation, soil, shield, gravity, is nature sending 5 simultaneous signals saying one sentence in 5 different languages. This is not your rock. So where does this leave us? It does not leave us with hatred for Elon Musk. It does not leave us with mockery of anyone who ever dreamed about Mars. Some of the most beautiful hours of my life were spent staring up at that red dot in the night sky as a kid. That is not the mistake. The mistake is forgetting what is under our feet while we are busy pointing at the sky. Because the 5 fortresses missing on Mars, pressure, shield, clean soil, safe roof, strong gravity, are not missing here. They are holding you right now as you watch this. And nobody has ever thanked them. Let me show you what that means. Look down at your feet, at the floor, at whatever piece of ground you are sitting on. Everything Mars does wrong, this rock is doing right. At the same time, on the same body, forever, without asking. Let me hand you all 5 again, this time in the direction of gratitude. Take another breath. One more. Feel it going in. That breath is 14.7 pounds per square inch of atmosphere willingly walking into your lungs. No pump, no valve, no battery, just pressure, doing what pressure does. Because there are roughly 400 miles of air stacked above your head right now, and that air has been stacked there in almost exactly the composition your mitochondria need for the last 500 million years. On Mars, your first inhale would boil. Here, your 10,000th inhale of the day is boring. That boredom is the fortress. Right this second, as you blink, the sun is throwing atoms at your face. Millions of tons of charged particles, every second launched from the surface of a star 93 million miles away, aimed at everything in their path. A river of bullets. 2,000 miles beneath your feet, an ocean of molten iron the size of the moon is spinning. That spin throws up a magnetic shield that reaches 100,000 kilometers into space, out past the moon itself, catching those bullets, bending them sideways, splashing most of them harmlessly into the poles, where we see them as auroras. You have been told the auroras are beautiful. Nobody told you they are the visible edge of a 4-billion-year-old goalkeeper who has not taken a break since the planet had a crust. The soil under your shoes is not an industrial oxidizer. It is alive. 1 teaspoon of garden dirt contains more individual living organisms than there are human beings on this planet. Bacteria, fungi, worms, mites, a 4-billion-year-old conveyor belt that takes dead plants and turns them into tomorrow's dinner. The sky above you is not a particle accelerator pointed at your chromosomes. It is an 80-mile thick shock absorber. Every cosmic ray that punches through the magnetosphere still has to slam through that column of nitrogen and oxygen, shattering into weaker and weaker fragments until whatever reaches your body is a rumor of the bullet that started upstairs. 2 fortresses, standing silently, doing their jobs while you scroll through your phone. And right now, at this exact moment, gravity is sending a signal into every bone in your body. Build here, hold here, stand here, this is down. Your skeleton is listening. Your inner ear is listening. Your blood knows which way to pool. Your eyeballs know what shape to be. The entire 4-billion-year-old conversation between a planet and a body is happening inside you right now, and the conversation is working. This is what Scott Kelly came home trying to remember. And his body got it back because Earth was still here to teach it. There is a sentence the Mars pitch has been quietly teaching you for the last 20 years. The sentence is, you are stuck on Earth. Stuck. Like a prisoner in a cell. Like someone waiting to be let out. Like the planet is a starting point and the real destination is somewhere else, somewhere better, somewhere you have not earned yet. That sentence is a lie. And it is the lie underneath every other Mars lie. You are not stuck on Earth. You are from Earth. Every calcium atom in your skeleton was mined out of Earth's crust by a plant root, eaten by an animal, passed up a food chain, poured into the cup of bone that is holding you up right now. Every iron atom in your blood was forged in a dying star, fell to this planet in a meteor 4 billion years ago, and spent the intervening time cycling through dirt and leaves and animals until a portion of it made its way into your mother's body and became you. You are not a visitor here, not a guest, not a rental tenant holding a short lease until the spaceship arrives. You are a specific arrangement of this planet, temporarily taking the shape of a person who is watching a video. Feynman said it cleanly years before he died. I, a universe of atoms, an atom in the universe. That was not mysticism. That was a physicist looking at himself in the mirror and refusing to pretend he was separate from the thing he had spent his whole life studying. The same atoms that make the ocean make your tears. The same atoms that make the iron core of this planet make the hemoglobin in your veins. The same physics that tunes the magnetosphere tunes the rhythm of your heart. You and this rock are not neighbors. You are the same project on different timescales. To leave Earth for Mars is not adventure. It is amputation. So what do we do with all of this? We do not stop looking up. We do not pretend Mars is not interesting. We do not lose the science fiction wonder that made some of us stay up past our bedtimes when we were 8 years old. But we stop selling the colony. We stop promising the one-way ticket. We stop treating this specific, tuned, living, 4 billion-year-old planet like a motel room we are checking out of. Because the honest future of space travel is not flags on Mars. It is something quieter and harder and a lot more worth building. Let me show you what that looks like. Let me say something that might surprise you after the last 30 minutes. I love space travel. I love rockets. I love the sound of a countdown. I love the fact that we, a species scratching flint in caves 12,000 years ago, are now routinely lofting cameras into orbit that can photograph our own ocean currents from above. None of that is the problem. The colony pitch is the problem. A telescope named Hubble goes into low Earth orbit 540 kilometers up, inside the magnetosphere, shielded by the same planet. It orbits and over 35 years produces the most beautiful evidence of cosmic deep time humans have ever gathered. Galaxy clusters 13 billion years old, dying stars exhaling their chemistry into the dark. Its successor, the James Webb Space Telescope, flies to a gravitational parking spot 1.5 million kilometers out and starts reading the chemistry of atmospheres around planets orbiting other suns. Neither mission required a single human to leave Earth for good. Both rewrote what a species knows about itself. Right now, every time you check the weather on your phone, you are reading the output of roughly 160 satellites flying overhead in low Earth orbit. Every time a wildfire gets spotted from space 12 hours before it reaches a town, that is a NASA instrument called MODIS doing its job. Every time a farmer in Iowa decides whether to plant soybeans or corn, a Landsat satellite, a program running continuously since 1972, is part of the answer. This is space exploration too. Quiet, useful, physics respecting. Humans stay on Earth. Our senses climb into orbit. The pitch calls this boring. I call it a civilization that learned to look at itself. If humans themselves want to go somewhere, the moon is the honest next chapter. 3 days away, within the magnetosphere's reach on the near side, lava tubes already excavated by ancient volcanism, deep enough to block cosmic rays without a 4-meter regolith pore. Short rotations, weeks, not years, so the body heals back on Earth between trips. Scientific questions that actually need human hands. Sample selection, drilling into ice deposits, assembling radio telescopes on the far side where Earth's own noise finally falls silent and we can listen for the first stars. NASA's Artemis program is attempting exactly this. Moon bases are not colonies. They are laboratories with a commute. That is what space travel looks like when physics writes the itinerary. There is a test Feynman would have recommended, the same one he used on every engineering claim in his life. Ask the people selling you the project to show you the physics, not the rendering, not the investor deck, not the sizzle reel, the physics, the numbers, the margins, the failure modes. If the answer is, the math works out if we believe hard enough, that is not a rocket. That is a religion wearing a rocket costume. The wrong way to end this video is to walk away feeling morally superior to anyone who ever posted a Mars rendering. Nobody needs that. The Mars dreamers are not your enemies. They are people who fell in love with the sky the same way you did, and somebody sold them a pitch that borrowed the love and stripped out the physics. So let me hand you something better than superiority. 5 small things. 1, the next time you see a Mars render, look for the pressure number. If it isn't there, the render is marketing, not engineering. 2, when a politician, CEO, or podcast host tells you a plan just needs enough money, ask what physics law they are proposing to override. Reality does not respond to venture capital. 3, learn 1 named receipt per week from the real space program. Phoenix Lander, Voyager 1, Cassini-Huygens, Parker Solar Probe. Earned knowledge beats borrowed awe. 4, step outside tonight at some point and press the palm of your hand flat against the ground for 5 full seconds. That is the fortress holding you up. You have never thanked it. 5, share this video with 1 person who still believes the one-way ticket is coming. Kindly. Here is the practice I wish somebody had taught me when I was 20. Once a day morning works. Any time works. Spend 30 seconds inside the following sentence. The air in my lungs, the weight of my skeleton, the shape of my eyeball, the signal from the ground telling my bones which way is down. None of these had to happen. A 4-billion-year-old planet negotiated every single one of them with the laws of physics, 1 atom at a time, and right now they are holding me up for free while I do whatever it is I do. This is not a prayer. This is a specification. Then do something with the gratitude. Not a grand gesture, a small one. Plant something, fix something. Teach a child the name of 1 bird. Vote for someone who protects the air above you. Buy food grown by a farmer whose soil is still alive. Whatever gesture cost you an afternoon instead of a fantasy, because the plan was never go to Mars. The plan was always become the kind of species this planet is proud to have hosted. And that is still on the table. Tonight, tomorrow morning, the next 5 minutes. Let me close this out properly, because there is one more thing Feynman left us, and it is the sentence that makes all of this hold together. There is a habit Feynman taught students at Caltech that he never wrote down as a rule, but everyone who sat in his office picked it up by osmosis. A 3-part test he ran on every scientific claim that crossed his desk. 1, can you state it in plain language a smart 12-year-old could follow? 2, can you show me the physics, the numbers, the margins, the failure modes? 3, can you describe the experiment that would prove it wrong? 3 questions. That is the whole tool. If an idea survives all 3, it is science. If it fails any one, it is a story somebody is selling you. Here is the strange thing. The Mars colony pitch fails all 3. In plain language, we will live on Mars, flattens 5 simultaneous killers into a sentence a child can love but not interrogate. On physics, the numbers 14.7 pounds per square inches, 0.66 sieverts, 0.5% perchlorate, 1-2% bone loss per month. 0.38 G were never in the original pitch deck. And the falsification test, what would have to be true for the colony to fail, is simply refused by the people selling it, which is fine. Every generation has its pitches. Every era has its religions wearing engineering costumes. But you now have the tool. And once you have the tool, you cannot unsee it. Every time someone promises you a Martian city, a metaverse, an app that will fix democracy, a pill that will fix aging, a coin that will fix money, 3 questions, plain language. Show me the physics. Describe the failure. If they cannot answer all 3, you are looking at a story, not a plan. And the cost of mistaking one for the other has always been the same: time, attention, money, dreams. Yours. Feynman gave us a lot of things in 70 years on this planet. The last thing he gave us, the real one, was a way to not be fooled. And the very last sentence of his life is where we are going now. Richard Feynman died on the 15th of February, 1988. 69 years old, 10 years of cancer behind him, in his office at Caltech. The last thing he wrote on his blackboard the week he died was a single line, 9 words. And those 9 words are the sentence that makes everything we have just walked through hold together. What I cannot create, I do not understand. We cannot create a planet. We cannot manufacture 14.7 pounds per square inch of breathable atmosphere from scratch. We cannot build a magnetosphere. We cannot seed a 4 billion-year-old biosphere. We have never done it. We do not know how. We do not understand the system well enough to even list all the variables. Which means, by Feynman's own standard, we do not understand Earth. And if we do not understand the one planet we were built by, we absolutely cannot recreate it on a rock that fails all 5 tests at the same time. That is not pessimism. That is the scientific method, holding the line. Tomorrow morning, when you open the blinds or step outside or look up at the sky on the walk to your car, you are going to see the sun differently. Not as a lamp, as a raging nuclear furnace 93 million miles away, throwing a river of bullets at your face and being caught silently, continuously, for free by 2 ancient guardians you have been ignoring your whole life. The air above you, the iron heart beneath you. That is not romance. That is physics. Kindly told. Scott Kelly came home in March 2016 and spent months relearning how to walk. His bones redensified, his eyes reshaped, his telomeres settled, his body slowly remembered what it was, because Earth was still here to teach it. Mars is not humanity's destiny. Mars is humanity's mirror. And the reflection is saying one sentence in 5 different languages of physics. You already live on the miracle. Stop trying to leave it. Start trying to deserve it. That is not the end of space exploration. That is the beginning of honest space exploration. If this changed how you see the ground under your feet, subscribe. Hit like so, the algorithm shows it to one more person who needed it. And drop a comment telling me one thing on this planet you are not going to take for granted tomorrow. I will read every single one. Thank you for staying to the end. This rock is lucky to have you.